So these are my DIY marquee numbers. If you didn't watch my first video, you may want to check that out. They were centerpieces and they actually went with the numbers. Sometimes when you're doing parties for men or males, it's kind of hard to give them that bling factor without doing rhinestones. So that's why we kind of went with the lead theme, and you can see here how it all came together. When I actually did the research, I actually tried to find some numbers online and they would have been around $200. I did this one for about $50 depending on how many materials you already have. I did this in black. You can do it in any color, and I actually made these battery operated, so I didn't use the electrical globe light, so I can place them around the room anywhere I wanted. You can actually see here where I found the letters in Joann's. I believe AC Moore carries them, and a few of your other craft store carries them. The letters are easy to find. The numbers are hard to find in the cardboard style. I mean, I searched and searched. I do know that they carry the letters in a short kind of 11 or 12 inch. But I wanted something dramatic, so that's why I picked up these 23 inch tall ones. I believe the price was about $9.99 per letter. Of course, I used my 50% coupon, so I went with this route. I kind of wanted them a little bit thicker, but because of time's sake, I really didn't have time to construct them. If I had to construct them, I probably would have had to go a longer route with projecting the image, kind of picking a font, cutting it out. The process would have been longer. If I went with a thicker letter kind of made from scratch, I probably would have did the globe lights that are a little bit thicker. You can pick those up at Walmart in like the wedding section, but I found these that were already made, and I can kind of walk you through how I came up with the 30. So I lost the first piece of my footage, and so I'm gonna kind of have to walk you through and kind of speed you up. What I did was I cut the left side of the B off to kind of make it a 3. I went in with my X-Acto knife and kind of cut out the top part. You can kind of see how I did here. And then I went back in with my scissors, and the X-Acto knife really doesn't give you a sharp cut. So I went back in with my scissors and I cut about 1/4, so it's a little bit shorter. I went in and cut around again the border just to give it a sharp look with a sharper pair of scissors. And then because they're about 23 inches tall, they were a little bit flimsy, so I had to kind of work out something to kind of make them stand. Once you cut that front piece off, it kind of makes them a little bit more flimsy. For the sides of the 3, you can see what I did here. I actually took a piece of cardboard to close it in. I took a piece of cardboard, I measured it perfectly. This will take you a little bit of time, so kind of pace yourself. I cut a piece of cardboard to go across it, and I used masking tape. You can see on the corners where I used masking tape, and I cut that so that it just kind of closed the ends in just perfectly. When you're using masking tape, it's actually the best tape to work with, and it sprays with spray paint or paints over really easy. It's actually better to work with, better than like a gloss type of paint, so a gloss tape, I'm sorry. So use your masking tape to close it. Then you can see here I moved on. Before I actually painted it, I actually put the holes in it first, so you can see how I put the holes in. I actually used about 3 sets. So sets includes the light and the bulbs. You have to buy them individually. They're $4.99 a pack. I bought the light, the battery operated lights to go with them, and then I bought the bulbs to go on top. Now the lights do come in white. Because my project was black, I kind of covered the tips with masking tape, and I spray painted my wires black because I wanted everything to kind of go together. So when you're making the holes, you want to go ahead and make the holes before you spray paint it. I just want to say that again. I took the lights, and they're very easy to work with, and I actually used 1 set for the 3 and then 2 for the 0. So I took my lights here, and I actually used them as my guide to place the holes in. These were very I think they're maybe like 3 inches thick, so I really didn't need a ruler. I kind of eyed it out. So I gathered them together, used the marker to just mark off where my holes were going to be, and that's how I got my holes in. Use the lights, kind of use your eye. If I did a thicker letter, you definitely would need a ruler. And I put my holes in. And you can find whatever you need. If I use a screw, I use a screw, whatever I can find. If you have like a screwdriver or something that can give you a sharper hole, you can see here how I'm using a screw just to poke it in. I didn't want my hole big. I wanted the light to just kind of fit through. I didn't want it too big. Sometimes people kind of use an X mark, and it was kind of a little bit too much, and I think the light would have slid through a little bit more. So I just used my screw, and I screwed in my holes just to make sure it fit just right. I didn't want it flimsy. At the end, you can see here how I had to hot glue everything in. So I just used my screw. I screwed the holes in. Everything worked out perfectly. And it will take you a little while. You want to pace yourself and probably give yourself about 3 or 4 days for this project. Don't try to stress yourself out and do it all in one day. It's going to take you time, probably about 2 or 3 hours a day, depending on what you're really working on. So take your time, kind of measure, because making the holes, you don't want to make a mistake or do something that can be preventable. So I placed my holes in with a screwdriver, and you can see here how I placed it in. Placed the holes and made the holes small enough just for it to fit in. It's no extra kind of leeway for it to wiggle around, and it fits through perfectly. You want to go ahead and complete your 0. Like I said, I used 2. I had to buy 2, 4, 6, so 3 lights. They come separate, and then the balls, you have to buy the balls separate. So I believe I saw these in AC Moore as well. So your craft stores are now selling this. They're like DIY marquee sections in your craft store. And you're going to need spray paint. So once I spray painted it, the texture on the back of these letters and the texture on the inside of the letters are different. The texture on the back, I was able to take the gloss paint and spray it on the back because I wanted the metal look. So I sprayed the back, but the inside I had to take the gloss. I sprayed it once with black, and then I had to spray 2 or 3 coats. I think I did 2 coats of gloss because the inside cardboard gave me more of a matte finish, and it kind of absorbed the spray paint. So it took me 2 layers of gloss, and then I went back over it with the black, and then that inside finally looked like it was metal because I was trying to mimic the metal marquee letters. So the inside was metal, and then it probably took about a day or so to dry, especially with the different layers. And then I also had to make a stand because this was too tall and it kind of wobbled. Once you take that front cardboard piece off, it kind of takes away from the weight. So I had to create a stand, and I'll walk you through how I did this stand, but that's just me kind of playing around, testing with the lights to kind of show you. But for your stand for this, because it's so tall, it definitely was a process. And what I did here, as you see here, I actually went to Home Depot or Lowe's in the trimming section, and I found free scrap trim, like in the bin where they kind of cut it with a saw. So I got some scrap trim, and then I got about a 1/2 inch rod. I think it was like 99 cents a foot or something like that, to kind of create a stand. The challenge here was I was trying to create a stand. That's the stand for the 3. The reason why I got a 1/2 inch rod, because I didn't want the rod to show through on the number once it stood up. So I took my L bracket, and I took a 3/4 inch screw and a screwdriver just to make the rod kind of stand up, the wooden rod kind of stand up. And I don't think I even used a drill because the wood was so soft. I just took my L bracket, I screwed it in, and everything just kind of went perfectly. Once I created the stand kind of for the 3 and the 0, I actually painted it with white paint. Yes, the rod with white paint. I think the base was okay because it was already white. Anytime I am having to spray paint wood, I always paint it with white first because I don't want the spray paint to be absorbed in the wood. I don't want to kind of waste spray paint. Okay, so I'll show you here exactly how I had to align the wooden dowels not to be shown from the front of the 30, and then this is how exactly the back looks, and the lights are not in, so I had to play around a little bit even before placing the lights in, just to make sure that the wooden dowels did not hit any of the holes that the lights will be going through. So that was a little bit challenging. If you have to do it in another number, you definitely will have to play around with it, but if you just happen to do a 30, this is how it hopefully will come out. And then now for the fun part. The fun part, when all the work is over, is just really putting those lights and the little balls on top. So all I'm doing here is just hot gluing. I actually had to hot glue these lights from the front a little bit, and then I hot glued them from the back just to secure them so they wouldn't move. And then the balls I actually had to hot glue on too, because these are not your traditional screw on globe balls. I had to hot glue each and every one, but it's exciting, and I'm so glad that I used the battery operated ones versus the electrical ones, because I was able to place the prop anywhere I wanted to in the party. We actually moved it a few different times. I actually placed it on the bar, and I was so glad that I used battery operated ones, because I was a little hesitant about the electrical sockets there. So everything just worked out perfectly. This is the 30 all complete, and before it's lit up, and I mean the light rays were kind of glowing in this video clip, but you can see where I actually taped with black tape the battery operated little packs on the bottom, and everything just fit. The weight and the balance on these kind of homemade stands kind of worked out perfectly, and everything was just so nice. So this is the 30 completed, and I mean, for a male themed party, like this just really popped. And I just hope you guys love this one. I have so many different things coming up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe. I thank you guys so much for your support.